This is part 2. And I'm very excited because we get to start working on guitars. This is one of my favorite parts of doing this. So if you remember last time, we got drums and bass. Nice. Now, there are many different ways that you can do guitars. You can record them mic'd up through your amplifier. You can plug straight into a interface and go through a plugin such as Amplitube or Ampex, and that's just modeling guitar tones, and you can go straight through your computer. We're going to use one of those. I like using Amplitube, but another method that we're going to use, and let's see if I can get this camera to work. I got some pedals set up. We're going to go directly from one of these pedals into my interface. So we're rocking Boss DS1 distortion, good classic. A lot of music was recorded with one of these, and that's going into this iSet gate pedal. This was an Amazon purchase. I think it was like $20, but incredibly worth it. It's a pretty good gate, keeping all the excess noise generated from the pedals through your interface. You're going to get a lot of that noise that you don't want. Gates just get rid of that. Same as if I was using a gate here. I think you might have seen me using that a little bit on the bass. It just picks up a lot of that floor noise. But we can start grabbing a guitar, seeing what we can do with it. Got our guitar. Now we need to arm a new track. Jump up here, add a mono track. We'll put this above my commentary. Make sure we get the right input. And then, just like I showed you, this first guitar, we're going to run through the pedals. So, let's, this is through the Boss DS1. And you hear that little noise hanging out underneath it? That's what the gate's for. We're going to turn the gate on now. It's gone. Alright, so before we get any plugins on or anything, I think I'm going to do a pass of the song, and then we'll come back. And I know this method does produce a lot of really bad frequencies, so we're going to go through and carve those out together with the EQ. But let's jump through this song real quick. So there was a section that I messed up in that outro right there. So all I need to do, now that I've got my song map up here, I can just click at the beginning of the outro and try it again. Alright, we got our first guitar track. Alright, we're hunting annoying frequencies. We're going to do some reductive EQ. The reason I'm doing this right now is because I'm going to be listening to this over and over and over again while I'm mixing and while I'm recording future guitar and vocal parts and stuff like that. If there's an annoying frequency that I'm hearing right now, I know it's going to annoy me in the future every time I listen to it. We're going to go through and knock those down. So let's open up our EQ, bring that over here, and then we'll listen to this and see if we can hear anything immediately standing out. And I know we're going to bring down the lows because lows take up real estate within our main track, and we don't want that. So let's play. it's not massively messing with the sound. I'm just, those frequencies that are in there, and you just don't want to listen to them anymore, you can isolate them out and bring them down so that they're not going to mess with you. So now we can go ahead and start doing it on our second guitar. Usually I choose a different guitar when I'm doing these. If I have multiple guitars within a song, I'll grab a different one because they've got different voicings, they've got different things about them that just make them stand out within a stereo image. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but let's go ahead and open up our new track. This one is our left hand guitar because we're going to be panning it hard left. This will then become our right guitar. Make sure we're on the right input. There we go. Cool. And we're going to use a preset for this one. We used the pedals last time. This time we're going to go through a modeler. So I've already got set up the right hand goth guitar. This is more of a ice picky sound, whereas the other guitar, well, let's see. Little MIDI. This one is a lot more trebly, a lot higher, and that's really going to separate it from the other guitar. So we're going to go ahead and do a pass, and then I'll show you a little bit about panning. Cool, got our second guitar, and it looks a lot quieter. That's because this one's mostly digital, so it doesn't really take much for it to get up to volume, whereas this one's using a lot of analog signal to compete with being within a digital atmosphere, so it needs a lot more energy, needs a lot more volume. That's why they look they look very different, but if we listen to them, we can isolate these tracks. They're roughly the same volume. Just doesn't look like it. Now with panning, because we don't really want there to be defined separate guitars, where this is kind of just like your punk trashy song. So we just want the feeling of guitar. We don't really necessarily need it to have separate guitars like you would in more melodic metal, or where you define that you have like 6 people playing and they all have their own thing. This is just kind of get 3 people together and make noise. So we don't really need defined separate guitars. We're just going to create a wall of guitar sound that you can get lost in. Throw our ice pick on top. So you can hear how that elevates the sound a lot. What's really going to throw it off now is the panning. This rhythm guitar, I guess we'll call it, is going hard left. So that's all you'll hear in your left ear. This ice pick is going hard right. You're only going to hear it in your right ear. What does that do? When they both join together, then you add the mix. Just becomes noise, and I like noise. Now we got our 2 guitar tracks, and anytime I've got more than one track trying to accomplish something, I want them to talk to each other. We got the bass and drums talking to each other. Why not get both of these guitars to talk to each other to become more of a singular unit? So we're going to open up a bus just like we did last time. Right click or click both of them, select them both, and then we're going to add a bus for the selected channels. This is going to be our guitar bus. And legendary producer Chris Lord-Alge has a fantastic plugin when you're trying to accomplish just this. So we can jump into CLA, Chris Lord-Alge. His guitar's stereo is killer. We We don't need to mess with stereo, so we can turn that off. We don't need delay, we can turn that off. We don't need reverb, we can turn that off. But just your basic settings, all I did was turn on the plugin. So we've got our bass, which we're probably not going to use, but I'll look at it anyway. Our bass, treble, and compression is at their bass settings. We can turn that off, play both of our guitars, and then I'll turn it on and we can listen to what it did. Really, I want it to glue these two tracks together so it's not so separate sounding, because we've got our ice pick, we've got our not MIDI, but MIDI guitar. So let's turn those on and we'll see what happens. Really different now. Remember, with compression, don't listen to the volume change. You need to listen to what it's actually doing. So this gets confusing. You're gonna hear it pushed up, it's gonna sound louder, and you're gonna think it sounds better. It's not necessarily the case. This is just gluing the guitars together. Left sounds a little louder. That's great and everything. What's it doing to the mix? We're a little above 12 with the guitars. Do we need to turn that down? That's good, at least for my headphone mix that I can be using for vocals here in the next video. And then once we get harder into mixing, we're going to start putting everything together the way it needs to be, a little more aggressively than what we're doing here. But for now, I think that's good. We've got our guitars. We've got them sitting within the mix where they need to. Something really coming together. So now we need vocals. We need to mix, we need to master, then I think this one's done.